Hey there, everybody. Happy Thursday to all of my beautiful artists and art lovers. Yeah, welcome. So it dawned on me the other day that I haven't really even told you guys my full story of art and how in the world I stumbled across becoming an exhibitor for people to help them with their art. And so I figured I would tell that story real quick. I don't know if it'll be real quick or not, but we're going to see. And if I go till my battery starts to run down on one of these phones, it may not be as long. May not be as long as I think, and I'll have to be continued tomorrow. But I wanted to share with you guys so that we could get some more trust going, because I feel like that's the way that we're going to all be able to move forward best together in harmony, is if you guys actually know my story and how in the world I got here to show art. So here we go. Let's go back in time. As you guys know, I've been in the salon business for pretty much the majority of my adult life. I like to joke that I've been a business owner since dirt, because I became an entrepreneur at 21, 22, right after I finished beauty school. And long story short, I traveled around a little bit, ended up in Texas. And in Texas, I had not been there too terribly long, and I had acquired a salon that was an existing business, and it had a great and beautiful build out. It was colorful, it was lovely, it just wasn't very busy. And so one day, I'm hanging out in my salon, and I'm looking around at the walls, and I've been thinking about different ideas that could bring people into my place of business. And one of them was an art show, except I didn't know any artists. And so I've been sort of sitting on this idea, and it was in my back pocket on the back burner, because I didn't have a way to go forward and make things happen. Until one day, this very, very, very interesting and artistic looking soul walked into my salon, and she actually thought she was there for a job interview. And we got to talking, and at one point in the conversation she said, "Man, you have great walls for art in here." And I thought, yeah, we do have great walls for art in here. I've been thinking about having an art show. I just don't know anybody. And she said, "Oh, really? I know a bunch of somebodies, and we don't have a place for having an art show." And so, me and this brilliant soul, who some of you actually met back in the fall, had a conversation within about 2 weeks of that initial meeting, and we scheduled and planned our first art show endeavor together. About 24 years ago, maybe, give or take, something like that. It was a long time ago now. Anyway, long story short, I had a business that I needed humans to come in there in a big way, in a party. I wanted 100 or 200 people to come in my door that had never been there before, maybe, so that I could introduce them to my business. She had a whole group of artists that were dying to have some wall space and show their artwork somewhere, except 24 years ago, there were hardly any collectives or collaboratives or any kind of galleries that had a low barrier to entry. All of the galleries were especially in Dallas, were of the fancy pants sort, where they were gatekeeping, big time gatekeeping, meaning that they had their list of who they were going to have, and they weren't interested in talking to a bunch of nobody artists who were creating stuff out of their garage or their basement or actually there's some Texas basements, but however they were unknown. The big galleries were not interested at all in talking to these more unknown artists. And so at the time, there was no real way, I learned, for the artists to actually get their artwork out there if they didn't already have some following, and if they weren't already having collectors that were talking about them and passing their name around, right? Because if they didn't have that, the galleries weren't actually interested in a nobody with no name attached. So I had a business with empty walls. Not totally empty, but almost empty. And so I was one of those businesses who said, oh, wow, I got empty walls. I would love to have art on my empty walls. And wait, new friend, you can help me with that? Let's do it. So we totally planned this show we planned it and we had it to 6 weeks later. And we had this art show in the middle of an ice storm, and we ended up having 200 people show up, and we sold a lot of art that night, and it was outstanding. Now, because I had never done that sort of a show before, I was the business owner who at first thought, oh, wow, I'm going to throw a party and bring a crowd here. Of course we want the art any which way that we can get it. And it was my friend who said, no, it's going to cost us money to throw this party. It's going to cost us money to PR and invite the people and do all of these things in order to make this event happen. And artists are used to paying for this experience. And so we'll keep the fees low, but they'll actually help us offset the fees and costs of having this big party, because they don't get many opportunities to show their art. Now, things have changed a lot, right? Opportunities have changed and many things are in a different alignment. But 25 years ago in Dallas, Texas, if you couldn't afford your own studio gallery in Deep Ellum or in the Design District or somewhere else that was artsy part of town, you were doing it out of your garage. And you might have a website and you might have socials, but 25 years ago, hardly any businesses even had websites and socials. So there's that part. And the gatekeeping was happening. So we started doing exhibit shows, and we had so much success that first time that we repeated it at least every 6 to 12 months for some years. And we had shows at that salon location. We had shows at other venues where we could orchestrate to have wall space in a bigger, better way, because my salon wasn't that big at the time. It was maybe a couple thousand square feet. And so we did installations in other businesses. Then we did some exhibits once in a big fancy hotel downtown Dallas. That was an interesting story. We actually had art stolen that show. Oh, that's never happened before. And luckily it's never happened since. But I've been through a lot of different experiences. And one of the things that I haven't taken time to mention to you guys is that it was because of this woman that showed up at my place of business 25 years ago and started talking with me about art that I even got involved in art in the first place. And so that's my background as far as how I got into showcasing for art and artists. Now, what that first showcase taught me was that good art that other people will like and buy has nothing to do with my personal opinion, because I'm not inside the heads of all of these other collector types when they make purchases. And what I like isn't always what they will like. First show taught me that. The other thing that first show taught me, and by the way, Francis Graham, if you're watching this at all whatsoever, it's because of you that I learned how deeply I'm truly an artist. Because I'll never forget the way that I felt when we brought all that art in and we started hanging it on the walls. And I remember thinking, like, why am I not painting something? Why am I not painting stuff? And so I think 2 days before we had our party, I was at the supply store trying to buy a canvas or get a hold of a canvas. And I don't know. I think I bought four things of paint, and then whatever else I used came out of my garage pile of paint. It was that crazy. And I made 2 canvases, and one of them I was really proud of, and I really, really, really liked it. And strangely, I still have that canvas, right? Because it was the very first thing I ever painted and hung on the walls in a show. And the other canvas that I made that show, I think I didn't like it at all, but I think it sold at the auction for like some stupidly cheap price. And I was fine with that too, because I was totally winging it. I had no idea what I was doing. Oh, yep, you were at our first show, Mama Linda Hyde. You drove all the way from Springfield, Missouri to come to that show. By the way, I can't read the comments, so I put my glasses on. So just so y'all know what my shortcomings are here when I do these fun live videos. Seemed like an important conversation to give you guys with some background about me and about how I got into this in the first place. Because so many people have said, oh, you've never owned a gallery before. Like, well, okay, yeah, you're right. I've managed to show art for years and years and years through real estate I already was using for some other business purpose. So it technically wasn't a gallery exclusively, but I've been showing art for 24 years at my own business and inside other people's businesses. So I'm not new at this game. We had good, successful shows over the years, and we each showed separately and together. So the person that got me involved in art, she has done shows all by herself, very successfully, had great turnouts. I did a few shows all on my own without the help. So we both had those experiences. So the nice thing about having someone that was a partner in art was being able to make a good show coming together, but then also be powerful separately. And then when we needed to, bring that power back together. So I'm really thankful that friend in art was here when I got started with Fresh to help me bring all of the pieces and moving parts of this place together in a more cohesive way. Because you guys, 20 people or 17 people were doing all the different jobs that it takes to run Fresh Gallery, because it was a co-op, okay, which means cooperatively everybody had to participate in order to make this place run, which was business hours and running the register and answering the phone calls and the emails and all the things, right? So if you were here in November when we took over the gallery, then you actually met the friend of mine who has been an art influence, huge art influence in my life over the years. And I do hope she sees this at some point soon, because, girl, if it weren't for you, I would not even know or understand the depths of my creativity into so many directions. Not that I don't dabble and have hobby related interests in a whole lot of different things, but had we not done that first show, it might have been years before I ever picked up paintbrushes and put them on canvas and actually made art. So thanks for pushing me into it. Yeah, it's turned out good, right? Now, back to whatever, the story. Oh yeah, shown art for lots and lots of years. And I was one of those businesses that we had another business going on, but we loved to have art for the walls. So we always had relationships with artists where we invited them in to showcase and or have an exhibit, or we would do special exhibits. So for those of you that feel like I don't have nearly enough background to be doing Fresh Gallery, I just want you to know that I've actually been in and around the art game for 2.5 decades now. What I've learned is that I'm really, really good at helping people find their target market and being able to invite those people into the party, which is important, because one of the reasons why you would even have an exhibit is so that you have someone helping you invite your audience to the party. If we all had to just do it all by our lonesomes, we really only have our tight-knit group to sort of bring. Because not everybody who's an artist is also a press media specialist. And though the internet has allowed a lot of artists to grow very independently, there's still a bunch of artists out there that do not have a website. They do not have business socials. And so it's way more difficult to get your name out there when you don't have those things. So, pro tip, for those of you who are looking to take your art more seriously and sort of level up, an easy, inexpensive thing that you can do is build yourself some socials for your art. Not the same one that your friends are on, but exclusively for your art, where you only show things that are related to your art. And then you should use that page wholeheartedly. You need to use that page to connect with people over art, which means that you're maybe showing what you do and you're showing your processes, or you're talking about your finished product, or you're engaging with people. And here's the other thing that I've noticed, you guys. So by the way, I'm following all the other galleries now in our socials, and just to keep tabs on what's happening in the art market. And here's something that I've noticed. Some of those galleries have a whole lot of artists showing inside of them, and I very seldom see anybody tag them or mention them or even cross-promote and cross-pollinate with your audiences. And so if you are showing art somewhere in some public place, in a gallery or otherwise, like, I don't know, one of the libraries or this, that, and the other, if I go to their page and I don't see that any artists are mentioning them, and then I go to artist pages and I don't see that the artists are mentioning any of the galleries, then there's a disconnect there. Something that you can easily fix. You yourself can begin to engage more. And if you're doing a lot of engagement and the person on the opposite end is not engaging back with you, that's a conversation to have. That way you guys are actually working together to help you create value and tell your audience how to find you. So these are the little snippets that you get when you come exhibit at Fresh Gallery. I help you with all of these things. It's part of the process that you get with your exhibit fees, because I want people who come to the party to play right. And what that means is we want a successful exhibit. I want a successful exhibit. You want a successful exhibit. It has to be more than just art on the walls. We have to connect collectors to your art. That's part of the process. It's a huge part of the process, actually, because that's how you increase your value over the years, is by your sales. So I'm sure there's going to be more to this story later, but I have one of my phones that's sort of starting to like flash at me, and it's telling me that my phone's about to die, and then I'm going to have to quit talking soon. I just wanted to share a little bit of my background again with you guys. Again, I'm Jennifer Hyde. I'm the Fresh Gallery curator. And I cannot wait to help you connect with your audience and connect your art to the world. Mwah! Love you guys. I will talk again to you really, really soon. Let's see. Today is Thursday, September the 18th. And we don't really have anything going on this weekend. And we had meditation earlier. We have meditation next week, Thursday at 3 o'clock. I think that's all we have coming up for the week at hand. Thanks so much for hanging out. Talk to you guys soon.